I understand that when you're constantly being exposed to high-level business owners with ideas that you may have never heard of before, the ripple effect in your business and your industry can actually change your industry from the bottom up. Okay, so when you're thinking about what's possible for you, watch out to see if your brain is looking to the industry standards or to the policies that have kind of just been run of the mill for the last however many decades in your industry or however many years, or that the person that you learned from did it that way. Remember, you are the masterful CEO of your own business, and we need to make sure that you are defining your own possibility.
Welcome to Sincerely Future You, a podcast that helps ambitious women like you make decisions today with the future you in mind.
Welcome back to the show, Sincerely Future You. If you're new here, this show is a bit of a time warp. It's business psychology, brain hacking experience that pretty much just guarantees you end up with more money, more time, and more calm after listening. Sorry, not sorry. Even for me, the show title today is bringing me a wave of comfort right now, because in the future moment that you're listening to this show, I will have thrown a kick-ass first birthday party for my daughter, finalized all my emails for my launch, finished all the content for the workshop that we're going to do, completed the video edits for Splashpad, traveled to and from Atlanta for my mastermind, and likely, if you listen to this a day late, I've even ran my first live event for my clients in the March class of the Masterful CEO School. What? It is so crazy and calming for me to think that it's already done where you are. And yet where I'm at, it's not. Isn't this so crazy? You can use this with any concepts to calm yourself down if you're feeling overwhelmed. A week from now, all of the things on your to-do list this week, they're just done. Just lean on the calm and relaxation of that future version of you. More on that later. Today, we've got a packed show. First, we're going to shout out the client win of the week. Then we're going to give you your hype sesh where we pump you up. And then we're going to dive into the topic of the day. Then finally, stay tuned to find out how you can apply what you learned today, if that's your jam and you're ready to see, like, how can I just actually get to know Jess? How can I get in the rooms with all of these clients that she's talking about? We're going to tell you exactly how. So without further ado, let's just dive in. Shout out of the client of the week. Client of the week is Nicole. Nicole owns two businesses. She owns the Bubbly Kitchen, where she makes soaps inspired by food. What? They look so good. You want to eat them. Please do not eat them. They are in fact soap. I will not be responsible for anyone who eats the soap that looks like food. She also just launched an Irish destination wedding planning business called Emerald Isles. You know I love a good pun. That is Isles, spelled A-I-S-L-E-S. How cute. And she's in the process of retiring from her career as an employee for good. This month, Nicole not only closed on a house in her personal life, and brought her first client that she signed all the way through the process to Hitched. All of the guests were actually coming up to her and her partner, congratulating them and saying, thank you for throwing such a kick-ass party. They were blown away. She also just signed another client and through scheduling is managing to run all parts of her life and business without having to choose. I'm just so proud of you, Nicole, if you're listening to this episode, for your commitment to the process until you, what we always say is kind of the slogan, the low-key slogan of the Masterful CEO School and the Splashpad. You just come until you get the results that you came for. Boom. All right, now for the hype sesh. Are you ready? Shake your body out. Let's do it. I don't drink coffee. Do you guys believe me? It's true. I don't have any stimulant that I rely on. So the way that I wake up in the morning is usually how it's going to go, unless I help hype myself up. Usually it's through working out. I love to work out in the morning so that I could just get the adrenaline going. But sometimes for a rush of endorphins, I will just search the word motivation or pump up on YouTube or Instagram or Google. You know what usually comes up? A bunch of dudes telling me how I need to suck it up and be harder, tougher, faster, or some version of that, stronger, right? I would say that me personally, I do typically respond to masculine energy motivation. It's how I grew up. Both of my parents, they're athletes. They would describe themselves as mentally and physically tough. Though that was a word that I heard all of the time. But you know what? This year, I actually set a goal of balancing my masculine and feminine energies, because while I do love a lot of the words that these guys were saying, I was scrolling through on these feeds, particularly on YouTube, on this motivational account that I follow that has over 1 million followers. And it's like, scroll, scroll, scroll. It's maybe 99 guys to one woman. What is happening here? We have the term mansplaining, but listen, that phenomenon is happening because maybe oftentimes there's not women out there in the positions to be motivating or putting themselves out there on the platform, or they're not being elevated to the places where they are giving us the motivation that we're really looking for. So sometimes if I want to feel pumped up, I have to listen to the dude bro that, maybe he has some good things to say and maybe I get hyped, but sometimes it's not the words that I need to hear or the examples that he's using. I just don't resonate with them because he can't possibly explain to me what it's like to be a mom and a business owner. He can't, not because of any fault to him, but because he is not a woman, right? And so I want to see more women out there motivating. We need to hear what you have to say. We need to hear it. Women hype up differently. We resonate with different words, different tones, different energies. And your particular flavor of energy has the ability to impact a community, has the ability for someone to see, oh my gosh, look at her out there. She is doing the damn thing and hyping it up, and success and power and strength looks different on a woman. And it should look different. Instead, really including in this motivational particular Instagram account that I'm talking about, the women that were on there were kind of spitting the masculine terms too, because they felt like, well, this is what I got to do. I'm living in a man's world. It's male dominated. So I got to play to that. That's what people obviously want to hear. No, I'm here to tell you that we want the variety. We want to hear it in your particular strength. And not, when I say strength, I don't mean it in the same way that maybe The Rock is going to mean it. And trust me, I love The Rock, but I'm here to tell you that there are some days where I'd rather be pumped up by a damn woman. And I know that you feel the same way. So let's get out there, whether you are going out there in your community or you're just going to do a live video on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, or whether you're just going to turn to your daughter and give her some motivational words, or turn to your friend and tell her the words that she needs to hear to get through her particular struggle of the day. All right. And if that doesn't hype you up, don't worry, I'll be back again next week. All right, now let's dive into the topic of the week. We're talking about stretching your possibility, and specifically possibility as a practice. What do I mean by that? I love to imagine the possibilities, but I'm starting to notice that most people don't flex this muscle with intention. They dream, but in vague terms. They want more money. And when one path to their goal doesn't work out, they kind of wallow in the same vague way. This is the most obvious around this season when some people start looking at the math of their annual goal and give up, right? We're about halfway through the year and they just can't imagine how they could possibly hit their goal because they only see one or two, maybe three possible ways that they could create it. So they get discouraged looking at the math. You can't measure possibility though, because what's possible isn't a fact. It's just a practice. It's a muscle. And when you don't use it, you lose sight of it. You lose sight of what is actually possible for you. So your mission this week, if you choose to accept it, is to practice possibility. And I'm going to give you 4 ways to stretch into more possibility within your business. All right. Number one is to make a list of 50. In college, I took a course called Innovation, and I'm saying it like that because it had an exclamation point on the end of it, which is obviously the only reason that I signed up for the course. I needed a business elective. And in this class, our very first assignment that we had to do before we even came to class was to come up with 50 inventions. I was like, come again? 50? I don't even have one invention, nonetheless 50. My brother was like, oh my gosh, that's so fun. I could do 50. And then we were like sitting there and we were like 3, 4. It felt impossible. But the human capacity for creativity is limitless. You can always dig deeper, stretch a little farther. It's why we have records, so that we can keep breaking them and blowing our own mind with what's possible. It's why we have records in the first place, so that we can keep breaking them and blowing our mind with what is possible. The record for a mile for a man right now is currently 3 minutes and 43.13 seconds. And there was a time not too long ago where we thought it was actually physically impossible for a human being to break a 4-minute mile. Impossible. And it wasn't that long ago. And now it's been shattered. It's not by 1 second, it's by 17 seconds. That is so incredible. It just reminds you that we can do things that are beyond our imagination, which is kind of the point of this episode, right? So you have to imagine it first for you to be able to create it. So that's what I mean when I say you have to practice possibility. Yes, in action. So when I say that this first step is to make a list of 50, decide what that is for. Make a list of 50 podcast titles, for example, or email subject lines if you don't have a podcast and you are wanting to increase your engagement or increase your click rate. Don't just write one, come up with 50. Your brain is going to tell you the point of doing this is to hit that barrier. At what point is your brain saying, no, I cannot come up with another single one? Stretch that for yourself. And the same thing, make a list of 50 ways that you could attack the same goal. Whatever it is, I think 50 is a number that's great enough that it will make you hit that I don't know wall. And for me, the I don't know wall is the most important one to shatter, because when you're telling yourself, I don't know, you think you're telling yourself the truth. You think you're telling yourself the fact. You think you're just observing who you are and what your capacity is, but you're actually deciding what is possible for you. You're deciding your capacity in that moment. And when we show ourselves that once we hit, I don't know, that is just a milestone in your journey towards your potential and your possibility and your capacity. It's not the final destination. And it's just something that you have to go around. It just the practice of doing that expands what's possible for you, because then your brain gets on board. Your brain says, oh, I know this. I'm saying I don't know, but that's just an obstacle that we have to overcome. And then I just keep asking questions until I find an answer, even if it's the stupid one, that is going to push what is possible for the number of things that I can come up with. So disclaimer, none of these practices that I'm about to listen are hustle practices. This is not about racing to the next level or doing more and more and more. And I know 50 sounds like a lot. However, any of these things can feel hustly if you're not aligned with the thought it's possible. When you believe anything is possible, it's not a matter of I can or I can't. It's about when and want to. In fact, once I fully believed that I would be a millionaire, for example, that's a goal that I've had basically since I had a business. But once I really, really deepened into this belief that I was going to make $1 million in a year, not someday, but within a few years, and certainly inevitably, I actually dropped all of my hustly habits. I stopped letting non-ideal clients into my coaching. I stopped offering things that didn't feel 100% right just because someone said, oh, you should do this, or I'd love it if you offered this. I stopped offering one-off sessions when I knew that the results people crave take months, even though people continuously, even still to this day, always ask me if I would offer a one-off session. I began to hold my boundaries and policies, even when it meant making less money in the short term. Taking massive action to stretch what's possible can actually lighten your stress. Okay. So, reminder for yourself that if you are going to do this list of 50, just remind yourself that it's a practice to expand what's possible for you. This is not about hustling. Okay. Practice number 2 is infinite failure collection. Sounds fun, right? Sometimes when we're thinking of what's possible, we're thinking of all the things that could possibly go wrong. And I'm actually not one of those coaches that advises you to avoid thinking about that. Instead, I recommend that you cozy up with the limitless possibility of your failure. What if I told you you were destined to fall flat on your face? Sounds fun? Of course not, but it's true. None of us are going to escape failure, especially if we choose to pursue a big life in business. And judging by the fact that future you just bought future us a round of drinks at the Four Seasons Maui, I'm going to say, yeah, you went after the big life, all right. And I'm also going to bet that she has a whole slew of hilarious business failures that makes where she's at right now so damn inspiring. Okay, just remember that the sooner you embrace the possibility, not just of the wins, but of the fails too, and you don't make any of that a problem, you don't make failure mean anything about you, then you will be massively stretched, my friend. Okay, so practice number 1 is to make a list of 50, decide what you're going to apply it to. Practice number 2 is to embrace infinite failure collection. I know we only want to fail in a little ways, but embrace that you're going to fail flat on your face sometimes, fail in big ways. And that just means you're pursuing a big life and you are that much closer to the big wins as well and big learning. And number 3 practice is get out of your industry. People are always telling me why they can't charge this or that a strategy would never work because that's not how my industry works. But I don't let that fly in my rooms because your industry standards and practices, they're made up. And if they're not working for you, it's time to stretch what's possible. Future you got where she is because she blazed trails, not because she followed rules. That's what I love about the 2 communities that I've created, the Masterful CEO School and the Splash Pad. They're not industry specific. And I've had people say that to me before, like, oh my gosh, you have 3 photographers in your room. You should just be a coach for photographers. You should niche down. But I think while maybe I could have a lot of quick wins and success if I went into that niche, I'm thinking bigger than this. I understand that when you're constantly being exposed to high-level business owners with ideas that you may have never heard of before, the ripple effect in your business and your industry can actually change your industry from the bottom up. Okay. So when you're thinking about what's possible for you, watch out to see if your brain is looking to the industry standards or to the policies that have kind of just been run of the mill for the last however many decades in your industry or however many years, or that the person that you learned from did it that way. Remember, you are the masterful CEO of your own business, and we need to make sure that you are defining your own possibility. Okay. And finally, the final practice of stretching your possibility is travel to the past as future you. I mentioned we were going to get a little time warpy, and here it is. How many things in your life do you have now that at one point in your past you would have believed was definitely impossible? For me, this list is very long. That I'd be training other people on time and money management. There's a room full of people right next door to me. I've got a full house getting ready for my daughter's birthday party, right? That literally laugh out loud when they think about the fact that I advise other people on time management or on organization in general. No one would have called me organized growing up. And if I could see that from above, that was what my life would be, I just wouldn't believe it. that other people would seek me out for fashion advice. This would have been hilarious to my high school or even my college self. Definitely my college roommates would have a good cackle at that, or they do right now. But they're starting to get used to it because the past version of me is not the whole me. And the current version of you is not the whole you. That's the point of what I'm here to remind you of week after week on this show, that when it comes to your business and when it comes to your life, you can access the future version of yourself that has any different quality that you don't yet think you possess or is possible for you. I wouldn't have thought that it was possible that I'd have married and had children with two different boys that were in my 9th grade math class. That's a true story for another day. The point is, present me is here to say it's more than possible. Past me, it's real. I think I've talked about this on the podcast, but for as long as I can remember, I've always done this thing where I've visualized myself in the past getting this genie type wish where they could pick one date and time to fast forward to. But they can't fully go there. They could just visualize me where I am today, kind of floating from above with no audio. I don't know why no audio. These are just the rules of the genie in my imagination, okay? And I often catch myself in a surreal moment and think, damn, past me would go bonkers if she was hovering over this snapshot of us. Do this. Like I even think about it right now. I actually just got the goosebumps and I was like, why am I getting the goosebumps right now? Do you ever just listen to your body? And I'm like, this is probably one of those moments where if I could go like 10 years ago, me, and I'm trying to think. So it's 2023, 2013. I just decided and said out loud to the very first person, I want to write a book on happiness. And if I could fast forward right now and see me with my like fancy microphone equipment, podcasting, and I could just see from above and I'm like on a cool couch with a cool wallpaper, I just have no other insight into my business. I'm like, I've got this blonde streak in my hair. I'm wearing red lipstick. I'd never worn lipstick in my entire life up until 2013. Like, what would I be thinking? I'd be like, what is this life that you have? How cool, right? So do this. Hover over a recent moment of you thriving, whatever part of your life that you feel like you are thriving. Feel how past you would feel watching it. Would she feel shocked, relieved, amazed, proud, just delighted? Then use that emotion and flip the technique. Instead of past you visiting present you, visualize going to visit future you. Remember that what you're seeing, whatever you imagine that you will be seeing, it's real. Those goals that you set for next year that you're second guessing, they are more than possible. They happened. And it's really important that you attach a date and a time to this, because I know that a lot of you guys do resonate with, you're like, I do believe in myself. I do believe it's going to happen someday, but there's a huge difference between someday and December 23rd, 2024, right? And so we need to see, what does that actual day in that moment look like? This happened. You're just not there yet. Imagine you stopped believing California was real just because you had to pull over for gas in Kansas on your cross-country road trip. That's how ridiculous it sounds to me when you tell me that your future, you can't really guarantee that your future is going to be real. Yeah, you can. You know how you can? The greatest way to predict the future is to create it. And in order to create it, you have to decide it, and you can do that. Okay, I'm so excited. 2 things are happening this week. First, we have early enrollment for the Masterful CEO School, which opens on Monday, July 10th, and will close July 14th. It's just for a week. It's the only time that we'll be offering the 12-month payment plan. It won't be available in September. And if you're new to the show, you need to know, what is the Masterful CEO School? Okay. This is my twice-a-year group coaching program where we have an intimate group of women entrepreneurs that meet weekly, and we set up your business to have more time, more money, and more CEO calm. We have specific processes for scheduling, specific processes for budgeting, and making sure that you are engaging with all 6 areas of money, investing, having, saving, earning, spending, giving money. I don't know why I said that. Normally I say it in the same order every time, and I just decided to switch it up. I don't know what just happened there, but I got all six. Yes. And if you are serious about this, if this sounds like you, this group levels you up with lifelong connections. And all the pre-enrolled members will be invited to a fun cocktail hour at my house in August as well. So you're going to want to make sure that you get in the pre-enrollment. It's possible that it could also sell out in pre-enrollment. And I don't want you waiting to September just because you were kind of on the fence and thinking, oh, I'll just wait and make the decision there. Don't rob future you of this room. You want to be there. If you're serious about mastering your time, your money, and your CEO drama, make sure you get on the wait list. You can do that by going to sincerelyfutureyou.com and make sure you enroll on Monday, July 10th. The room, it needs your particular flavor. You know, you always make the sauce, right? Second, the Splash Pad Founding Members Kickoff begins on July 11th. Yes, this is a course, but it's also a lifetime private community, and I always overdeliver. So this will be no different. There is still time if you are a beginner business owner or you're not at the phase yet where you qualify for the Masterful CEO School, meaning you haven't created 15K in revenue in the last 12 months, or you are really just getting your business off the ground. You do not want to miss being a part of this level 1 business glow up. It is Business Course 101, and it's really the community that you need to make sure that you do not waste the next year in overwhelm, just kind of spinning, doing a couple of reels on Instagram and buying things for your business and not actually getting it in the hands of the people that need it. Right? Your first goal is going to be in the Splash Pad to make your money back in the first 30 days. Game on, baby. Run, don't walk to join the Splash Pad. You can actually buy that course right now as you're listening to this. You can go to my Instagram bio and buy it in the link in my bio, or you can go to sincerelyfutureyou.com. All right. There are limitless possibilities, my friend. If you took anything away from this show, know that. Today's high quality question for you, your HQQ, is this: what invisible ceilings have you been voluntarily living under that future you has already broken through? It is time to stretch that ish, baby girl. Future you and I are waiting for you. You have got this.
Hey, Hapsters. If you want to learn more about today's topic, head over to whatshappening.com/podcast. That's what's happening, whatshappening.com/podcast. If you're a business owner and you're resonating with what we talk about here, what are you even doing? Come hang out with me over where the party's at on Instagram at What's Happening WJess. Again, that's happy, HAPPYNING, and book a discovery call to see if coaching is your next best step.